welcome back to Battle.Garage. Let's see, we're at the end of February. It's been a cold, long winter, and I just haven't had the ambition to do anything. This garage just is not set up to do any work in the cold. It takes forever to heat it up. I don't have good electric out here, so I can't really do any welding and see at the same time. So everything's just pretty much been at a standstill. So, as of right now, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and make a list of what needs to be done on the old SX4 here. I've come to the realization things aren't going to pan out on this how I really wanted to. Ideally, I wanted to rotisserie it. I was going to strip it all down, completely restore it, but it's not going to happen. And I feel though, I mean, the car's already been apart for 5 years. This is the situation that a lot of car guys get into. They tear a car down too far, and then it's so much work to put it back together. And I'm already at a point where this is going to be a lot of work. And there's still things that need to be tore apart in order for this car to even be properly functioning again. We'll go over them here in a minute. So, with that said, what I plan to do is I am going to walk around it and figure out basically the bare minimum things that need to get this car running and driving. I'm really going to try to have this thing back together before the end of the summer. So, well, before next winter. Like I said, it's a big road ahead. I'm gonna cut back on a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do, and like I said, just gonna do the basics. Because once it's back together and running and driving, and a solid car, I can always address other things that I want to do later on. So yeah, let's take a look here, and I'll show you guys what my plan is. And when I say plan, I use that term very loosely. But, all right, so, well, let's backtrack. Original plan, as I said, I wanted to strip it completely down and basically do like a rotisserie restoration on this. Extremely difficult to do. One, I don't have a rotisserie. I'd have to build one or buy one. That's an expense and time consuming, or if I built one, it'd be a time consuming project in of itself just to get this thing so I could spin it over. Second of all, the underside of this car really isn't too bad a shape, so there's really nothing under there that needs super addressing. My other plans were to I was going to take the windshield out and repair up behind here. When I was driving this, there was some water leaking in someplace, I believe, and I assume there's some rust back there. But taking the windshield out of one of these things would be a super pain in the butt, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to risk breaking it, even though I have extras, but still they'd have to be pulled out in one piece too. So, my plan is to completely ignore that. I'm probably going to go around and fill in some of these gaps with some new window seal, and then put the trim back around it and call it good. All right. What else was I going to do? I'm not sure. All right, things I do plan to do, and I'm going to make a list. All right, so big things that do have to be done. I do have to take all the front apart. If you're not familiar with AMC, it's kind of hard to see it, but down in there, there's like a cabin. The unibody comes up, and there's like a 1/2-inch drop, and then there's a plate back there, and it goes around to the backside, like over there. And that's, kind of like a box frame situation. Problem is, as you can probably kind of tell, they get filled up with dirt and stuff over time, and then, especially up here in the north, road salt, and it just sits in there and eats away at it. Now, of course, to do any kind of work to that, you got to take the coil spring out, and the upper control arm, and the shock, all that stuff. All right, so, and then second, cross member. Well, that's for the 4-cylinder Iron Duke. I do not plan on putting an Iron Duke back in this. I plan on swapping this to a 6-cylinder 4.2 liter. Originally, I was going to do some crazy motor swap that no one's ever done, but you know what? The 4.2s are reliable, and I have like 6 of them kicking around here at this point. So, might as well use what I got, and then I have parts available, and yeah, so that's the big selling point there. So, and I don't have to do any custom fabrication, spend a bunch of money on stupid things that, could make it work, kind of be cool, but not with this car. Maybe someday down the road when I have tons of time and money, I'll build an SX4 custom how I want it and all sorts of crazy things or something. But right now, I just want to get this thing back together. So the whole front end has to come apart. So that I got to do. Second, third, fourth, I don't know where we are. Dash. I'm probably going to pull the dash out, just check behind there. There's probably a mouse condominium living in there. Currently, though, actually, I don't think there's anything in the glove box, so maybe there isn't. But might as well replace the heater core and go through everything while I have the car mostly tore apart. And I might swap out the non-tilt steering column for a tilt column, since I have a couple extras of those. Basically going to not do anything with the inside except for take care of the rust issues back here. Both sides there are rotted out. I think mice were living in there, and mouse house equals rot. And then we got to pull the rear end. I don't know anything about rebuilding rear ends, and most people would say, just put a Ford 8.8 in it or something. Well, this has a posi rear end from the factory. It was only available with the 4-cylinder and the 4-speeds, SX4s, and Cambacks, I believe. So it's not super common. And did I mention it's a posi? It's a posi. So I want to keep the rear end because it's original to the car. And I know all said and done, this car isn't going to be original. But there are some key components with the car I do like front that were from factory that I would like to keep factory. And the rear end is one of them. So I know the bearings in it are shot because it sounds terrible going down the highway. One of the reasons it got parked. So I would like to send that out and get it rebuilt because, again, I don't know anything about rebuilding rear ends. And I really don't care to at this point in time in my life. I got enough other things to focus on here, so that's going to be one of them that I don't want to focus I probably, yep, gonna pull the brake booster. Might as well replace that. Might as well take the master cylinder for the clutch out and rebuild it, because if you know AMCs, those things are impossible to get, and it should be rebuilt while I have things apart. I made a list. I'll check it twice. Maybe I'll get something accomplished once the weather is nice. Ha! All right, so here's the list. Disassemble front, weld frame, sandblast, and powder coat control arms, which he means wire wheel and spray paint, probably. Remove dash, new heater core, put tilt wheel column in. What else does that say? Rebuild master for clutch, replace brake booster, pull rear end, have it rebuilt, bodywork. Check it twice. Let's see, I need a 4.2 flywheel. I need a clutch that goes from the SR4 4-speed transmission to the 4.2 inline 6. I got to get a master repair kit, or repair kit for master cylinder for the clutch. Brake booster. I don't know if I use the booster that this originally came with, or if I need to use the other one, because I know they changed. I don't remember if it was because of the year or because of the engine. Heater core. I skipped something here. Shocks for the front are whooped. Need new ones. Might put rears. Ideally, what would be really nice to do is, there is a company that makes coilovers for this, but they're like $1,500 for the kit, and then it involves a whole bunch of modifications. Probably not going to do that. Maybe someday. Probably not. Brake and fuel lines. Might as well replace all brake and fuel lines while I got the thing tore apart. Let's see. Power steering hoses. Yeah, I ruined one taking it apart. And the other one's just a soft return lines. Probably don't need much there, but, get those replaced. And biggest thing of all, need a running 4.2. Now, I have plenty of 4.2s. I have one that was running. It was parked several years ago, and God knows what its shape it's in now. Ideally, I'd like to put a stroker in this or something, but I also want to put a stroker or a good motor in the wagon, since it gets driven all the time. If it was a perfect world, I'd put a stroker in both, but I doubt that's going to happen. Probably the wagon will get a new motor, and then that one that's in there will get rebuilt, and that'll go into this or whatever or something. Probably nothing will ever happen, and the cars will just sit here forever. But yeah, there's my list. And I'm sure there's things I'm forgetting, and more to come. All right. Well, I'm back out here on my SX4. I'm going to go ahead and work on taking this dash out. Okay, so as you may notice, the dash has been removed. I was going to record the process of removing the dash, but it's a rather complicated process. At first I was doing it wrong. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a rather portly fellow. So to save my embarrassment, and to not have to subject you guys to the sickening sight of me climbing in and out of here, I decided not to record it. But the dash is out. You can see the 9,000 wires in there, and cables for the HVAC. Yeah, so that's all in there. Thought you guys might be interested to check this out. This is the back side of the glove box. So your glove box door goes here, and this is the back part. This section here, if you had, I believe, if you had an AMC Eagle or Concord or whatever of an AM only radio, this is where the speaker went. This has a, I believe this was considered either an amp or a synthesizer. This plugged into the stereo, and on the package or on the dash, there's a fade left and right dial, and then there was a button that you could press to get like extra bass. So this is like a 70s radio amplifier. I haven't seen too many of these. I don't know how rare they are or whatnot. It did work, if I remember correctly, or at least for a while it did. But, that's pretty cool. All right, well, on to the next part. I'm going to go ahead and work on getting this air box out. Take the heater core out. See how much of a mouse house we got. I need a persuader. Oh, here, and I thought this was going to be easy. Yep, just as expected. Look at that. That's not as big or as compact as I thought it would be. That's only like a, you know, three family dwelling. I've pulled organizations, generations of mouse house condominiums out of these heater boxes. That's actually not bad at all. I dare say that's mostly from after it's been parked. Not bad. Stop blowing holes in my ship. Sounded funny in my head. All right. Heater cord, and this actually doesn't look too half bad, but probably replace it anyway, just because it's not a fun ordeal to do them. On these cars, you do have to pull the whole dash to do the heater core, unless it's an AC car like my wagon is. This is actually two separate pieces on an AC car. So you can unhook the dash and just kind of move it up out of the way a few inches, enough to drop the box and get the core out. But as far as I know, on these ones, without AC, there's no way to get them out without completely removing the dash. Alright, I figure we'll start tearing the front end apart. I think I'm going to start with the shocks. Now, on these cars, when I first got it, and I was reading on the forums, everyone said that you got to take the coil spring out to change the shock. That's just not true. You could take this support off up here that the shock goes through, and then there's two bolts down here to come out, and you can lift the whole shock out and replace it. Everyone was claiming that this piece was structural, and if you took it out, the spring wouldn't hold, or it wouldn't hold the spring rather. But right here is a big pocket for the spring to go in. It has nothing to do with that. And I've done it before, and no, these springs don't go through there. So the shock's easy to get to for the most part. The bolt on the back here can be a real pain in the butt, but not terrible. So word of advice, don't do what I just did. I rounded the nut off. When you're taking these apart, you want to start with the back side, not the front side. Because if you take off the front side first, the spring decompresses, or the force from the spring presses this downward, and then it's harder to get to that bolt in the back. And I would suggest don't be an idiot like me and then just jam an impact back there and start going, because apparently that didn't end well for me. Ooh, come on, do it. Wow. Come on, even if you break off, I'll be happy, I think. Whew. Damn. I was doing something. Well, here we go. She broke. Come on there. These extractor bits work real good when you strip off a nut. Remember how I said don't stick an impact on there? Alright, so what's happening here, there's like a little pocket under here where the nut goes onto the bottom of the shock. Now, when I started running this one off, the shock moved, and now the nut is up against the pocket, so I can't get a socket on it any longer, and it's jammed. So I'm going to try and pry it back. Wow, that's not working. Need a bigger boat. Oh, there we go. I am. I'm going the wrong way. Just like that, your shock's out. That's pretty dead. Now I'm going to do this side. Except I'm going to start at the bottom, and then I'm going to take the top part off. I think that's where I messed up. That right there, folks, is definition of work smarter, not harder. Once I remembered the proper way to take these things apart, that side went lickety split. That shock was wasted too. In fact, that one didn't travel at all. I suspect that the shaft was bent, and the piston was not allowed to travel. I think I mentioned before, these springs are not original Eagle springs. These I bought for Javelin. They are pretty heavy duty. The reason I use them is because it's a cheap way to get about an extra 2 inches of lift. The ones I got, I think, have a really heavy spring rate, so they are hard to compress. But I think one of the problems I did is, or one of the things I did wrong, is those shocks that I got, I think were standard shocks. I was told that they should work fine. Apparently, they did not. Um, as you may have noticed while taking it apart, there was actually quite a bit of pressure there. With this full droop, the shock was actually holding it up probably another inch or so. So the shocks that I was using didn't have enough travel for these springs. So when I put this back together, I want to make sure I get a longer shock, or a shock with longer travel rate. You might also have noticed that there's two different shocks. So after I put the new coil springs in, I went with these KYB shocks. And they had good reviews on them, so that's what I went with. And they were actually fairly cheap off Rock Auto. Well, I would say probably about a month or two into driving with it, I blew one of them out. It did not, it was blown out. So I took this one off of a parts car and I put that one in. I believe this is a Monroe. Not entirely sure, but either a Monroe or Napa, being it's blue. Though I could be completely wrong on that. I don't know. Either way, yeah. So I swapped that one out. That one still works a little bit. Not very well. This one, well, it does not press in at all. It's also very rusty. Now, that could be it from sitting for the last 4 years, 5 years, but I suspect that was probably like that when I parked the car. All right, well, I think that's about wrap it up for this video. It's still pretty cold out, and well, I started this morning, it was in the 40s, and with the fire going, it was pretty nice in here, but it's since dropped down to 20 with a wind chill of 5. So this drafty old garage is pretty cold, especially on the driver's side of the car. That, and I just remembered I have something pretty important I need to do, and I need to go do that. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap up the video, and it looks like we got some decent weather coming, so maybe I could actually get to spend some time on this and get some more things complete. And we could do some other cool things, too. All right, everybody, have a good one. Victory so far in these battle cars.